Hi, so in my essay, I chose to discuss a mother's role on her children's lives and how she forms and shapes her child's identity and character. I chose to focus on Holga and the relationship with her mother, and Julian and his relationship with his mother. And everything that rises must converge. Julian hates his mother and constantly tries to cut her down and make fun of her and embarrass her in public situations. Holga always tries to be different from her mother and everyone around her. She always tries to show how much smarter she is than everyone, and she is mainly focused on not being like anyone in her family. I'm trying to show how they bring out their true character in a way that not many other people can because of their relationships with their children. My thesis is, through their unconditional love and deep understanding of their children, mothers form and expose the true character of their children who insist that they are independent. So I changed my thesis from my first draft. At first it didn't have the word form in it, and I feel like that was very important to include in the final draft because Mr. Shep said, "Is this all they do?" And that got me thinking, no, that's not all they do. They don't only expose it. They are crucial in forming their entire character. So I added the word form into my thesis to show how the children create their character and whole identity from their mothers. In choosing the characters, Holga and Julian, I'm trying to show how these characters try to form their own identity that is different from their mother's, but even through all their trials, they can never fully do this, and they end up having the same views as their parents in the end. For Good Country People, I chose the quote on page 276. Miss Hopewell thought it was idiotic, showed simply that she was still a child. She was brilliant, but she didn't have a grain of sense. I thought this was very important because it shows how everyone else is blinded by Holga's education, and Miss Hopewell sees right past this and can see the true character of her daughter, which I thought showed very well how a mother's role is different from people around her, because she was able to see into deep into Holga's person and not just on the surface like the other people. So Julian, in Everything That Rises Must Converge, spends all of his time trying to embarrass his mother. And I chose a quote on page 408 that says, "He knew every stop, every junction, every swamp along the way, and knew the exact point at which her conclusion would roll majestically into the station." I thought this was very interesting because even though Julian says that Julian is always trying to embarrass his mother and cut her down and show that he hates her and that he is not dominated by her, he knows everything about her and even knows her next move. So I thought that shows the unique relationship a mother has with her son or her children. By the end, these characters, Holga and Julian, show their true character. In Everything That Rises Must Converge, Julian is, they finally get off the bus, and Julian's mother starts walking home because they've just gotten in a fight. And Julian's mother passes out and is about to die. And Julian says, "Mother, darling, sweetheart, wait." The tide of darkness seemed to sweep him back to her, postponing from moment to moment his entry into the world of guilt and sorrow. And I thought that showed just how deep the connection was between his mother and him. And even though he tried his whole life to cut her down and embarrass her, it shows the true love that he actually had for her all along. The same thing is kind of happens in Good Country People at the end. Holga is very vulnerable at this point in the story, and she says at the end, she says her voice when she spoke was almost pleading sound. "Aren't you?" She remembered, "Aren't you just good country people?" In saying this, she's using one of her mother's cliches that she uses all the time, and Holga always tried to stay away from these cliches and made fun of her mother for them, but in this moment of vulnerability she uses one of these cliches, which shows again how the deep love and connection that she has with her mother.